Okay, so you thought about this during the break? I hope not so much, right? Anyway, so we have a certain set of APIs designed now in terms of URL, method, and the data that we need to use for the communication, okay? That we get from the server or we send to the server. Let's design the last thing that regards the data, okay? So the database. Actually, database should not be so difficult to design for you at least, because I think you all attended a database class, and typically this is not the difficult part of these assignments, okay? So of course there is always a table user, okay? And actually what we are interested in are the fields, so the column names, okay? You don't have to describe everything, especially if you use meaningful names, okay? Like IDs, what's the username, no, email, what name, okay, was not required, it doesn't matter. Hash, salt, the way in which we say that to store passwords. And for this specific case, we have the secret, specific discourse. So the secret that allows us to log in with the TOTP system, okay? So it allows us to do the check for when we receive the OTP. And then it depends on the assignment. In this case, I think well, we cannot write the study plan. Study plan are a list of courses, right? But the study plan includes also the full-time flag, right? So full-time can stay here, right? It's one-to-one relationship between users and the value, right? So it can directly stay here in the table users, okay? Otherwise, we need to have another table. It's just a table with the student with the user ID and the flag, so we can merge everything in the same table. We don't really care so much about the tables, okay? We expect you to be able to handle these tables. But reading the tables also for us is helpful because we understand which kind of representation you want to use for the data. So then we have a study plan, of course. And the study plan is just a relationship between the user ID and the course ID, right? Course. Yeah, let's write it user ID, course ID. Okay. Maybe you want to put the primary key, which is the primary key in some ways. Let's use brackets, or you write it explicitly, or whatever. Just to make sure you remember everything, also for the exam. And table, is there anything else? Yes, the list of courses, right? Offered by the university. I think courses, right? Courses. And courses, there's a course ID, which is the primary key because it's unique, right? And we say there's a name, the number of credits, and then we say that there is a maximum number of students, and if there is a preparatory, right? Preparatory. We can put it here because it's just maximum one, and the text says maximum one, okay? And then there is a table for the incompatibilities. Incompats, where you have course ID, incompat course ID, okay? So since there can be many of them for the same course ID, you need to have a table, separate table, okay? And then I think that's all, right, for the tables. Because you have everything you need to represent the information. So a student creates a new study plan, you create a few entries in this table where there is a user ID and all the courses, okay, that belongs to that study plan. You delete the study plan, you delete all the rows with the same user ID. You want to modify the study plan? Well, actually, here you have two options. The solution that I will publish has a different approach, like it just performs modifications. Okay, instead of deleting all the rows that have the ID equal to the user ID that is doing the modification, and then insert the study plan, inserting as much rows as the number of courses that you want in your study plan. Okay. What is the information about the number of students? Where is the text? No. Oops. Yeah. The number of students that already chose the course. I mean, it's implicit, right? We need to compute it. The number of students that already chose the course is actually something you can derive from these tables, right? So you look at the study plan table and you count the number of rows that have a certain course ID. Okay, that's the number of students that chose that course. Okay, so you don't have to maintain this information separately. But I mean, this is just basic database stuff. Okay. Okay. Main React components. Well, this. I mean, we can leave it for later, but I mean, for sure there will be at least a couple of components. Okay. This is to be filled in after you develop your solution. Okay. But I mean, we can for sure. Let's say there is a course list. And the study plan, right? Something like this. Study plan. Where, I'm not sure. Okay. We will see later when we develop the solution. Okay. Just list the main ones. I mean, this is the section we care less, because then at a certain point we have to, I mean, we can have a look at the code, and looking at the code, we in any way have a look at the components. Okay, screenshot, don't forget the screenshot. Okay, you can also have a preview of the README. Okay, that's the Visual Studio Code allows you to preview the README in a nice way. Okay, the same way that is used by GitHub to render the README. Okay, because this MD is a format. Actually, if you search online, you find the specification, but you can just modify the things looking at how to say. The syntax that we use is very simple, okay? Like creating new lines, items, and so on. Okay, so database table, main React components, the screenshots will appear here, and the user credentials. Okay, don't forget this last step. And for example, for the user, don't forget to indicate which user is an admin or not. Okay, if there is an admin. Okay, yeah, and that's all for the README, right? So at this point, you saw it took 1 hour and a half, even if I know where I want to go, okay? So it took a while to design the application initially. But then what you spent here is, we'll say, well spent, because you have a clear idea of the path you want to follow to develop your application, okay? Then it might be wrong. Some pieces might be wrong. You need to reconsider something. But in general, that's the way you should use to approach the problem. And then we can start coding. Right? So you start on the server side. I think that's the best way to start. And I would say you do a bit of copy pasting from your labs. I guess that's the best option, because you know the code from your labs. You modified it, you created it. Of course, you can start from our solutions, fine, no problem, but you need to understand our code. Okay, so it's more difficult, especially if you developed your code during the labs. Just make sure everything works and it's more or less correct, okay? Because of course that one will be, what you write will be evaluated at the exam. So I think it's time to have a look at the solution I will publish, okay? I mean, just to have a look at what, actually this was one of your colleagues in a few years ago, it was 2022. So I think it was he decided to have this, actually slash and slash login, okay? Actually, one route less than us, because the route slash, depending on the authentication status, shows either the list of courses or list of courses plus the study plan, okay? That's a possibility, okay? Of course, you have more complex code in the return statement of the component that handles the slash route, okay? But I mean, this is independent of the components. You can still have one component for the study plan, one component for the course list. I guess he had, I think, course list and study plan, yes. Okay, because I mean, we have a modular structure in React. That's the point of having React. Otherwise, we just write plain JavaScript code, right? So, okay. Just to give you a rough idea of what comes out. Okay, that's the main page. Okay, not sure if we have time to test it, but I will test it before I publish it. You just do npm install and you can test it yourself. And actually, on the left, there is a full list of courses. You can open and close the courses and it shows the incompatibilities, what is mandatory. I mean, what was the name? Prerequisite, whatever. Preparatory, okay, and so on. And on the right side, you have your study plan. And you have buttons plus or actually minus, okay? He decided to have the minus on the left. Maybe not really the best solution. Personally, I would put the remove is here, right? So I don't remember what's the minus meaning here. Maybe you can do it by clicking on remove and also here, but I don't remember, sorry. You can check the code later. I mean, you can execute the app and try. Anyway, maybe something was redundant, it's fine. Okay. So the study plan is on the right. You see the number of credits, total credits here. That's a minimum, that's a maximum. So this is a full, it's not part-time, a full-time, right? And you have the save, the cancel, and the delete as we decided to do, okay? So actually, you make modifications here, and they stay only in the application, in the client, until you press the save button, okay? If you press the delete button, you destroy of course, the part in the client, but also the study plan that has been saved on the server, okay? Good. You also see, well, it's a bit small, but I mean the number of enrolled students out of the maximum number in case there is a maximum. Okay, so more or less it fulfills the requirement. Well, I would say more than less. Okay, good. So yes, we wanted to see, well, let's have a look at the database. Students, name, email, well, auto-generated ID, the ID that is generated automatically by the SQLite, hash, salt, full-time. Actually, I still need to finish updating the README, so we still need to have the secret for the TOTP, okay? That actually was not required at that time. Courses, code name, CFU, max students, mandatory, which actually that's a preparatory. Okay, he called it mandatory. Okay. Incompatibilities, course incompatibilities, incompatible course is fine. Course in study plan, but actually course student is the idea, I think, and the course. Yeah, course in study plan, actually this could have been called the study plan, that's all. That's enough, okay? Anybody has its own ideas, it's fine. Okay, let's have a look at the APIs. Well, get API courses, I think that's the easiest one, right? The list of courses with all the details, okay? Mandatory, null, max students. Not the number of enrolled students because he wanted to make another APIs, number of students, okay? I'm not really sure about this choice or not. Why? I mean, the reason why. I think it was because at a certain point maybe the application needs to get only the number of students and you don't want to reload the whole list of courses with all the details. But this is just a matter of efficiency, so you know all questions about efficiencies can be a little bit, anybody has its own ideas, right? So they can be discussed, and in case you can ask, it's really needed that we have we have this operation made in a very efficient way or not, okay? Thinking in terms of, let's say, a real application, maybe it's not a good example because like Polito has, I don't know, maybe 2,000 courses, I don't know, maybe even more. So of course, loading 2,000 courses might not be the best option, but in this case, maybe you wanted to change the way in which you show the courses as well and so on. So, you know, you need to find the balance between what is required and what would happen in an actual application and so on. If you are unsure, just ask us, okay? This is a course that teaches you how to do things, okay? It's not like that's a customer, he wants a solution and doesn't want you bothering him or her, okay? So, and so you need to take some decisions by yourself, okay? In this case, you can ask, and we have not so much focus on efficiency, but just try to avoid really inefficient ways of handling things, okay? Like, for instance, there's a list of like 100, well, let's say posts, like in the first exam, and you have the comments, and there are 10 comments for each post and so on. Maybe you don't want to load everything in the beginning. Well, apart from security issues, whatever, I don't want to enter in this discussion. That's something you need to evaluate by yourself. But, you don't want to, load thousands of information, strings or text fields and so on, just because once maybe in the future you need to show something, okay? Just, load what is needed for the first view, and that's fine, okay? That doesn't mean you need to implement difficult mechanisms like pages and so on, okay? If it says, like the text, show a list of posts, just load the post and show the post, that's fine, okay? Just try to find a good balance between these requirements. But again, these requirements are not the ones who will move your mark from 18 to, from not passed to 18 or something more, okay? This is just, for deciding, I don't know, maybe the louder or whatever, okay? But maybe not even that, okay? If the rest is perfect, it's fine. The number of students could have been loaded here, but in case I wanted just the number of students, it's better to have a single API just for the reasons I told you, okay? And I think that's the reason why we have this single API. Delete API study plan, of course, that's the same as us. Post API study plan, create a new study plan is good, okay? Oh, post API study plan, edit. Edit the existing study plan. That's a bit different from our idea, right? But I think I gave him 30 with allowed. So I mean, it's not a problem. It's just a different approach. The important thing is everything is coherent. There's a reason why you do this operation. It works in any case, and so on. So, I mean, that's a possibility. You just send the modification you want to do to your study plan. And this works because the study plan is just for the user. Okay? It's not shared between different users. Otherwise, this would not work that well. Okay? So like it's a reservation of some places, items that you buy and so on. It doesn't work this way, okay? But if it's just something that you modify yourself for you, just for you, you can expect that nobody else has done modification, okay, on your data except you, okay? So I think it's fine. And so basically, after doing the modification to what has been loaded in the beginning in the client, he decided to send the difference to the server, and the server will add the courses and remove the courses depending on what's required. And that's a different way of implementing this a solution for this problem. This will be removed as something we didn't see this here. Post API login. And so actually in the response body, you find, well, the name is not required, but actually the study plan, as we said before the break. Right? I mean, why not? Otherwise, I think you have this API current user to get the study plan as well. But also, of course, you have the get. No, actually, it didn't implement it. Okay, there's no get API study plan. Okay, because in any case, what you get is information related to the current user. Okay, and you're required to be authenticated to get this information. So this API current user, that could be also get API session current. Okay, I think there's no such name here. Yes, no such name. It can give you the study plan as well. Okay, that's why I like this solution. I don't want to say I like this solution. It's a bit different from, let's say, the normal way of thinking, but just to show you that things can be done correctly in a much different way. Okay, so these are the APIs that I will publish and that I have with me now, and we can test them a little bit. So basically, you have your server and you take your files. Yes, copy. So we can practice a little bit with Git as well, I think. Yes, server here, paste. Yes, we run it, the server. Not sure, there's just, oh, I don't want the server. npm install. Probably the package JSON is a bit old. Yeah, so I guess we need to destroy the stuff. Package JSON. I will make the updated version for you, but yeah, let me see. Package JSON. So that's the packages that we need to install. Oh, that's already the one. Well, it doesn't matter. npm install. I think that's because I developed on macOS and I tried it on Linux. Okay, but we will fix these issues in case your application don't run first time at the exam. Don't worry too much if you included all the dependencies and so on. It might be an issue like this. We will recreate the dependencies. I mean the node modules folder starting from scratch. Okay, so the point is that you need to not to miss any dependency. Okay. So and nodemon, I think index, right? Okay, so now you have the server. Ooh, I forgot to have the HTTP file. Well, let's create one. And then you can test it, okay? So create a new file, test HTTP. So let's get, what's the syntax? Oh no, I don't have it here as well. No, I don't remember. Well, let's get HTTP localhost 2001 courses. Okay. Let's try to remember if the syntax is correct. The connection was rejected 3001. Okay. Save. Okay, that's a list. Good. So you remember what we did with the REST client quite a few weeks ago, right? I mean, once you have the server side, you can start testing the server side. Maybe you just implemented the minimum functionality that is needed for starting to work on your application. Okay, like a get courses. Without the courses, you have nothing to show in your application. Okay, and then you go on the client side and decide what to do. So you implement the in-app. Okay, oops, close this stuff. In-app, you start the coding. Okay, I guess, I mean, you don't start from scratch. You start from a lab that is good for you. I would say the last one or the last but one. Okay, the one with that already has the authentication and so on. So most of the stuff for the authentication is already done. And of course, you need to adapt the content. You want to have a list of posts, right, for the first exam. And you need to make an API that returns posts and display posts. So design a component. So write some HTML code that shows a post in a nice way with all the characteristics that we required in the text. Okay, like you did for the fields, we did in the class for the answers and so on. Decide how to show it, one after the other in a table. I don't know, whatever you want is fine, as long as it's okay for you and it implements the required functionalities. Like if we said we need to be able to open and show the details, you need to have something to click and to open this how to say this element. Okay, it would be a mistake in the sense that I mean it will deduct points from your mark if you don't implement something which is mandatory. Okay, because it's been specified in the text. The rest, I mean, for the rest we can discuss as long as it's a reasonable solution. Okay, like I mean, we cannot discuss about the fact that there's no login button. You need to press, or there's no way to navigate to the login page, and we need to write type/login. That's not acceptable. Okay, but I mean, in general, I think if you follow the labs and the lectures, I mean, we need to have a way to move around in the application so that we can show anything that is required by the text and perform all the actions that are possible and described in the text. Okay, so maybe it's not so intuitive, but you are with me or with my colleague at the exam, and so at a certain point I will say, well, I don't know how to log in. Maybe you just point out, well, I put the button over there. I mean, it doesn't show up. You need to move a little bit on the right and so on, or it's just down in the page and so on. Okay, we don't really care too much about these things. Of course, everybody has its own ideas of usability and so on, and of course, it's not about usability, so we accept any reasonable solution in this regard. Okay. So if you have questions, just feel free to ask. I guess we can try to run the client. So how to organize files in the client? Well, this dot stuff is from the Mac. You just delete them. I mean, you don't have to document everything as he did. I mean, I think he had some previous experience maybe or some. But I mean, a little bit of comments are welcome also for you, because at the exam you need to remember what you did. Okay, if there are comments, they help you. I mean, the comments help you more than me. Okay, I'm more or less able to navigate the code that you wrote without the comments, but because I have more or less an idea, and after I see a number of students doing the same thing, let's say I learn how I mean, what's the general idea for solving this how to say, this exam. Okay, so it's normal to have a few, let's say, states. Okay, states are the way in which we load information from the server. Okay, so when we have an API, we get information from the client, we put it into a state, because we force the re-rendering of React, and also it's the only place where we can put information in React that comes in asynchronously. Okay, just make sure you follow all the best practices that we saw during the lectures. So forms are controlled forms, means for each field, for each element, there is a state. And yeah, for the login and so on, I mean, what we did during the course, okay? You're not required to use the promise all, okay? The promise all is to run a request in parallel. Actually, you only have one step. I mean, they will be serialized in any case, but I mean, you just need to be careful not to write code that depends on the order of execution, because our server is not so fast. I mean, it's not really slow, but it's overloaded of, many files and stuff, and so it doesn't execute as fast as your server. But I mean, in a certain sense, it's good because we can test some behaviors that maybe are normal in actual applications. So it's a bit slow. There's no artificial how to say, we don't slow it down artificially, unless you did it in your server. But please don't do it for the exam, okay? Because otherwise it takes more time to test the application, okay? And also we mentioned this, but I mean, it's not really required to load things in parallel if it can be done in parallel, because I mean, that's really a small difference for our exam, okay? I think yeah, I wanted to think in case there is something that you need to know. Yeah, I think he used quite a lot of context. Yes, you see, 4 contexts. I mean, again, contexts are not mandatory for the exam. Okay. Maybe here was a bit exaggerating. Okay. But I mean, a context for the user could be a good solution, a good compromise. But we use it only if it helps you. We don't really care. Okay? It's up to you. Nav has been also the loading, the waiting, and so on are not required for the exam unless explicitly required. But I mean, in this first exam, nothing was explicitly required for this. Courses and so on. Well, also, sort of object-oriented programming stuff is not required. So if you don't want to use the new field, new courses, new posts, and so on, it's fine. I mean, the JavaScript objects actually can be changed at runtime. So, I mean, the point of using object-oriented programming is a bit weak in JavaScript, right? Yeah, course list and so on. Oh, yeah, feel free to use anything from Bootstrap, React Bootstrap that you like. okay? If it simplifies your work, feel free to use it, okay? We don't really care about the number of lines you write, okay? I would say even it's the contrary. The less you write, the better probably is the program, okay? Because you took advantage of something which was already developed and probably was well developed, okay? Well tested and so on, okay? Yeah, again, for the styling and so on. Yeah, if you really don't like to have the buttons attached and so on, just use a class just to make a bit more room. I mean, but just a class, you learn it once and it's fine. But if things are not aligned and so on, don't care too much. I mean, if you really don't know what to do, it's fine to focus on those things. But I mean, there's not the things that change your mark at the exam, okay? I mean, we will check the server code, the client code, and we will look for security issues and so on, okay? So like here, like on the server, like if you miss one is logged in, I guess we spot it. We check all the APIs on the server, okay? And also, remember, I told you many times, but I think it's never enough. Stuff should come from rec user if it's in the session. It's wrong to take it from the client, okay? If it is an authenticated session, the only reliable information about the session must come from the session. It cannot come from the client, okay? Because client can be anybody. It can be anybody making requests, okay? Yeah, you can do some validation. Validation is welcome, okay? I mean, the necessary validations, the one that risk you to have inconsistent state of the database are required, but all the rest, I mean, you might leave it for later, okay? At least. Or maybe you can leave it out and that's all. Yeah, I think, yeah, that's all. I will publish the code, okay? I think we don't have time to run it now, also because yeah, it takes a copy pasting and so on. It takes a while. But I will make sure it runs before publishing it. I think it's almost done. So if you have any questions or comments, just feel free to ask. Otherwise, I think we can finish here. Thank you for attending the course. And also, don't forget to, fill in the end of course questionnaire. They call it JCT in English. It's so bad name, but that's the official name also from the ministry. And so we get some feedback from you, okay? What you liked and what you didn't like, and what you can change for the future. I know it doesn't impact you; it impacts your colleagues. But we already got the feedback from last year, hopefully to improve this course, which was good in any case from last year. I mean, last year's feedback. Okay, if you have further questions or comments, feel free to use the Telegram. We have this Telegram. Nobody writes on this Telegram. Okay, I will not answer private messages unless they are private issues. Like my account was linked to another student's. It was, I was enrolled last year and it doesn't link to this year. That's a personal issue. It's fine. But if you have a question about the exam, write it on the Telegram topic. Okay. Otherwise, I will say. Please write on the Telegram topic corresponding to the exam number 1, 2, and so on. That's why. That's because everybody can benefit from the questions that others make. Like here in the room, right? You come here and you listen to others' questions, and so no reason not to do this online. Okay, and if you have some issues and so on, I cannot really. Debug a lot of code and so on, but if you have like a question in theory, about some issues that we explained that was not clear enough when you are rehearsing, the topics and so on, I mean, send me a Telegram message or write me an email. I'll try to answer you as much as possible, okay? And as fast as possible, I mean, depending on my schedule, okay? Okay, so I will publish the solution for lab 14. I will publish the solution for this exam, even though you saw it's a bit different from our approach, but I will also publish what we developed here and the sketch of the README with our idea of the APIs. Okay, so you have like two different paths, even though one is developed and the other is not. Okay, I think it's really all. Okay. Are there any questions? No? I'm still here for a few minutes, I think. If you still have questions, I can answer you, let's say, immediately before I leave. Okay? Thank you. Okay, let's stop the recording. OBS. No, what's the OBS?